for publication. So I'll be talking about the content of how to write an original research paper. And also, of course, some of the processes involved or the content on what is expected for publication, specifically this Scopus publication. So I will not be tackling on the process of publication because one of the presenter today will be talking about the process of identifying, selecting, and also, of course, the process of submitting your research output for publication. So this is May from the Philippines and one of the members of the Eudoxia research family. Okay, let me start my presentation with the quotation. So quality works always bear a signature. So this is exactly the focus of my attention to deliver the message on how to come up with an original research or research for publication. It is always bear in mind that whenever you are doing things, especially in research, all you have to do is to sign it with your signature. Bear a signature. It is because you are supposed to be proud of your work. Proud in a sense that you have done it with your effort, with your intelligence, with the necessary knowledge, and also, of course, following the standard procedures and processes in coming up with your research. But make it sure that your work is beyond the quality or the standard set by a publication, especially the Scopus publication. Again, I would like to say, quality works always bear a signature. So what do we expect from this particular activity or presentation? We are supposed to think of how could we possibly prepare an original paper? How could possibly research or prepare or write an original paper? So here are the essential elements of an original research paper. So for criteria for publication should always be the first to focus and to look at. The first element is originality. Yes, it is because original from the word itself, original. So it is basically written by you, conducted by you. So all the elements of the originality must be discussed to be able to identify how could I possibly write an original research paper. The second one is the significance. It will identify your research or it will delineate your research paper if it is original or not from the other researches. Basically, one among the methods is searching using the internet or even all research gates. The possibility of duplications of the title or the specific focus of your research paper. The second one is the content. Yes, it is very important. It is because the content will tell you that your paper is original or not. It is because you are the one manipulating the information or you will be the one to utilize the information at hand, basically derived from the participants or respondents of your research. The fourth one is presentation. So when we are talking of presentation, it follows a certain standard set by the publication or set by a certain team of the publication. Or it could either be technical or it could either be the format, etc. And the last one is referencing, which is also very important for the readers and for the reviewers to be able to identify if the necessary information that you have included in your paper are original, or you have rephrased it, or you have used some of the terminologies from other researches, of which it is acceptable in the publication. It is because one among the consideration for publication is the reference or references. So let's talk about the essential elements of an original research paper. The first element is originality. So when we talk of originality, the problems of a research must be new. New in a sense that it is only you who could possibly identify what are the issues and concerns of your organization, of your community, or sometimes it is just a matter of the technique or the process or the procedure. So if it is a new one, and you cannot easily identify, but it's a new. If you have gone through reading a lot of information, also of course searching a lot of from the researching a lot of information from the research gate. It is very, very essential for us to use the internet or the information technology, of which that would definitely differentiate your topic, your focus from other research outputs. There must be an innovative combination of techniques from different disciplines. That is also one. That is exactly what I am always doing in all my researches. If I have read a lot of information, I have to think of in lieu of or in line with the problems that you have identified. What could I possibly share something new to our organization, to myself, to our community, to the industry where I belong, specifically in education, and also, of course, in business and engineering, where I am used to work with, all at the same time. So there must be an innovative combination sometimes that alters the previous or changing the old system. So the research must introduce an idea that appears promising or might stimulate others to develop promising alternatives. That's exactly what we are doing. In Eudoxia, you would possibly learn something new, something innovative, of which derived from the previous one, or an original idea. So the one that we commonly share with you, to our audience, to our participants, that we think of the most possible and acceptable but doable things. There should be limited. This is also exactly the focus of the word originality as an element of effective publication or original publication. There should be limited references that can be traced from the internet sources or published or unpublished materials such as journals, magazine, books, and other references. Could either be academic researches, institutional references, or others. So take note, there should be limited references. This is also one way to be able to identify if your work, if your research, if you are doing a research, which is you are considering original. If you cannot find any information from the internet or even from the different journals that you have read, or most probably you can ask a lot of professionals or experts in the field of research if your idea is original or not. It is one way also to validate or invalidate the information at hand. So originality, limited resources. The more resources you have, the more difficult you will find it original. But if there is no existence of any information in relation to the topic or the focus of your study, the more it is considered original. That is exactly the same thing when I have written my social entrepreneurship idea. Actually, one of the words that I have used is appeared as minimal, but then it is almost zero when it comes to the information that I have heard, that I have read, that I have searched. So that is why I have no reference at all. So therefore, my work is original. And take note, again, another way to determine if your work is original is through plagiarism. Plagiarism check. One is with the aid and the use of Turnitin. So the second element is significance. If the problems that you have identified most probably be solved with an efficient strategic courses of actions. There should be a great contribution to a certain area of research or institution, both the private and the public, and discipline. So what does it mean by that? So if it is possible for you to have a certain problem to be solved, like for example, the time of pandemic or the pandemic, one among the problems in pandemic is labor, income. Also, of course, the primary concern of pandemic is our health. So that is why the World Health Organizations are keep on trying to improve the vaccine that they could possibly contribute across the globe for us human to be safe from acquiring the virus. And that is a great contribution that made the research original. Even though that a lot of people around the globe, especially those who are involved in medical practices, these are the people, yes, most probably the idea are all the same because they really want to solve they really need to solve the pandemic or eliminate the chances of acquisition or acquiring the virus. Since that the virus per se is original, so it has an original thing. So most of the countries around the world are keep on trying to be able to eliminate that virus. So therefore, different materials, different chemicals, different in relation to biology and also, of course, in pharmacy. So they are combining their ideas that will definitely contribute to eliminate that focus or purpose. There should be a relevant or important issue to address. Exactly the example that I have given, the pandemic issue. So issue to address or alternative points of view in relation to the discipline. So in relation to that aspect, like the Philippines, we are trying our best being the one among the tropical countries around the globe, and we are a lot of coconut tree. So therefore, we have a lot. Our scientists in the Philippines have contributed a lot in the development of a medicine or a certain cure to enhance, if it does not enhance, to eliminate the chances of acquisition of or acquiring the virus through the use of the coconut oil. In the Philippines, we call that as cocoa virgin oil. So it is also one way as a contribution in the field of medicine. So that is why we are keep on trying to improve that particular product. Number 3 is relevance. Relevance in the sense that the research must conform with the thrust or theme of the journal publication. Let's say the theme of the journal publication is innovation. So what most probably would I contribute to the innovation thing delivered or established by the journal? So will it solve a particular problem? Will it add to body of knowledge in our discipline, let's say business or engineering or science or education? Important or relevant information must be elucidated to give light to the area of concern, more particularly in solving the problem. So the problem of today is pandemic. So therefore, there's a lot of issues concerning pandemic. But if we can create something new out of that particular focus, like what I have done, social entrepreneurship, it is very appropriate in times of pandemic, or the issues concerning society, to eliminate what we called problems of social distancing. It is a solution of which a certain group, a family, or a certain community will start a business directly, or that will start at the very home. So therefore, People are preventing from social congestion. And the next one is presentation. So the presentation means the format, the physical presentation of the data and information, what we called the written document, or other called manuscript. Logic structure of the research paper must be observed. Later, we will be discussing on how to go on with the presentation using the IMRAD form, which is acceptable in the Scopus publication. Logic structure from the introduction down to referencing. So we have identified that the information, the introduction, the methodology, results, and even the discussion. And also, of course, some of the recommendation called application of what you have searched out. It must conform with the standards set by the journal publication with the aid and the use of the criteria or the criterion set by the journal publication. So what are those? Let's say, for example, with the aid and the use of the font, the size, even the what we call spacing, referencing, or sources. Also, of course, with the aid and the use of the APA, MLA, or even footnoting. In some other journal, they are using footnoting to be able to easily identify if the statement has been used or derived from other sources. It must be competently written with plagiarism check. So, as what I've said based on my quotation, that quality works bears a signature. It is because you are competent enough, you are confident that you have done something good, something original, because you are the one who made your own research. So therefore, you must be proud and you must be competent that you have done everything to comply with the requirements set by a certain journal publication. So the next one is the logical content. For the title must be clearly, concisely, and accurately expressed in order to avoid misconception and misinterpretation, especially those people who are new in the field of research. So to avoid confusion, the title must be clearly, concisely, and accurately expressed. Written, there is no such thing as rule when it comes to the number of words that you will be using, but you are supposed to comply with the requirements set by the publication. Some journals are requiring to a maximum of 18 words. But if you will be covering all the variables that you have stated in the content of your research, it is acceptable. For the abstract, which is part of the content and format, the abstract must be well organized, coherent, and clearly written. What does it mean by that? So take note that in the presentations of your abstract, there must be an introduction, a bit, the gist of everything, which include what? Expected to include the methodology, the respondents, even the instrument that you will be using, that you have used. Also, of course, the statistics, if it is more on quantitative. If it is qualitative, all you have to do is to explain a bit of how you done it, how you apply the method. And also, of course, the key results in the form of summary or the gist of the results. It means that it includes only the most important thing that you came out, that you have arrived at. Also, of course, your conclusion. Conclusion should always answer the statement of the problem, and also, of course, your title. Since that, the statement of the title should be parallel with the conclusion and the summary of findings. So another one is for the introduction. The introduction, the purpose, the methods, and the results must be clearly summarized and correctly highlighted the current concerns in the area, which includes the process of how you came up with a particular research or idea. So it could either be deductive or inductive in process. So therefore, it is a way to introduce to the readers what the readers should be expecting from the content. For the methodology, the methods used must be clearly explained, which include the methods, the data, statistics used are appropriate, and the instrument were validated, reliability checked. Take note, it's very important for you to at least measure the coherence and the relationship of the ideas from the first idea, second idea, etc. Or it depends always in your variables inclusion. So methodology is very important. Take note of that. And for the results, as part of the content, the results should be clearly presented with all the relevant connections with other works, such as the use of literature review in support of research. It is one way to support, validate, or invalidate the information that you have arrived at. It is also one way to comply with the requirements of the theory and the concept, or sometimes ideas of other people to augment your claim. There should be no misinterpretation and assumptions and speculation. It is because what you have identified, what you have presented in your statement of the problem should be answered with the result. Take note, no misinterpretation. It is because you are dealing with data and information. Take note, once that you have commit mistakes, the entire paper will be at mess. So for the conclusions, the presentations of conclusions must correctly, logically explained in order to avoid misinterpretation, biases, and false information. As what I've said, your conclusion should answer, should be the gist, should be the focus of the results of your study. Beyond that, you will be presenting in a wrong direction, or you will lead the people to a wrong direction. So what is expected from the result should always be the reflection in your conclusion. So let's say, for example, that the respondents belong to age category 24 to 29. So that's it. That conclusion, that result should be create some conclusion that the respondents belong to the age category 24, 22 to 29. So therefore, the answer should always answer to a certain group of respondents having or belonging to age bracket 22 to 29. So for referencing, reference must be reflect the latest work within the area of concern. What does it mean by latest work? So the acceptable is 5 to 10 years, and beyond, there are some modifications to be made. Unless otherwise, that you will be the considering or using the most original or the original work done by the researcher, such as the Maslow hierarchy of needs. But when it comes to that concept, there's a lot of write-ups already. And also, of course, new findings when it comes to the applications of Maslow hierarchy of needs. Maslow hierarchy of needs, by the way, is a theory made by Maslow. It is an experiment and also, of course, qualitative research conducted during his time in the 1960s. And up to the 1990s, they came up with the 8 levels. So that is why they are innovating something, which is the inclusion of the first one is beauty. The second one is intelligence. And the third one is creating a model out of the leader's achievement. Transcendence need, meaning for your business, for your work to continue, you must train somebody. You must train somebody in line with what is at the back of the minds of the original leader. Let's say, for example, to Dr. Rituraj, if he is no longer, if he's no longer functioning, he must train somebody who will be continuing his purpose, his vision to continue serving the people around the world. So it is not me, it is not other people here, it is because we might be leaving soon with you, Doksha. It is because we are aging. So therefore, the chairman of the board of the Doksha Research Center should learn to train people who are younger than our generations. So for the table, do the tables correctly indicating the measuring units and the source? Are the tables correctly named and numbered? Are the data presented in tables correctly valued and interpreted in the article? Are the tables well proportioned and aesthetically placed in the article? So take note, for the table to be observed, there must be uniformity of everything from the first table to the last table. It is because the aesthetic are basically important. It suits the eyes of the readers. And once they have found out that there is something wrong with the format, you have to rework the presentation. Again, do the tables correctly indicate the measuring units and the source? There must be unification. There must be consistency when it comes to the words, when it comes to the table format, and also, of course, when it comes to content. Are the tables correctly named and numbered? Sometimes you will be amazed that you will be encountering that the first table named table 1 and the second table named presentation 2. So therefore, there is no consistency at all. To make it uniform, take note, to make it uniform, whatever you have done in the first table, you should also be done on the second table, and so on. Are the data presented in tables correctly valued and interpreted in the article? So take note of this one. Presentations of table, the value must be correctly and stated perfectly and interpreted. Let's say, for example, 60%. 60% must be clearly stated in words, and also, of course, in relation to the content of the table, you have to detailedly discuss things. Are the tables were proportioned and aesthetically placed in the article? Again, the format, the size, the length, etc. must be observed. So for the research content for publication, the Scopus research publication. Research contents are the following: complete title of the research, researcher's name, the abstract, and the keywords. It is just for the first page. Take note, in some other publication, they are using the complete title of the research in different font and different size of the font. Also, of course, the researcher's name. They are using sometimes what we call footnoting to be able to identify who is the researcher and what is the qualification for of the researcher. And also, of course, the abstract and the keywords. And also, of course, these are some questions to be answered in the preparations of original work for publication. Am I ready for publication? That's the question. Am I equipped with the necessary information and guidelines? Do I have read? Do I need to read? Or have I read a lot? Have I understood everything before I am writing the manuscript? Am I at the right direction? If you are following the steps or procedures, or most probably the itemized requirements set by the publication, which is the standard, which is the acceptable and the uniform standard set by the publication. Will my idea contribute to the body of knowledge? This is also one among the questions that need to be satisfied to be able to prepare the original manuscript, which is ready for publication once that you have done. And also, of course, you should be competent in relation to am I ready for publication? It is because you are already equipped with the knowledge and information needed to write a research. And sometimes you need to seek some information coming from those who have already eloquent in writing the research paper or who are considered expert in the field of research. Okay, so for the format again, introduction, methodology, materials, and method, these are the acceptable already. It is no longer chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, etc. So it is basically numbered. 1.0 means introduction, which include theories, the statement of the problem, etc. 2.0 meaning the methodology, the materials, and the methods that you have used. What are the materials? Let's say the instrument or some other instrument published by other researchers already. 3.0, discussions and results. So when we are talking of discussion and results or results in discussion, results mean that's the presentation in table form without any interpretation. It is just your presentation of data. And the discussion will be at the last portion of the presentation. And number 4.0, conclusions and direction for use, meaning your recommendation on how to adapt a particular result. So you are referring to whatever recommendation that you will be entailing. And number 5.0, acknowledgement. Some other or publication do not ask anymore the acknowledgement, but only the references. But acknowledgements are now important because this is the right time for you to give thanks to those people or individuals, group of people, organization, even the libraries, even the search engine must be acknowledged. You are giving due to where the information is due. Okay, so you should be thankful to those people who have extended their hands to help you. So for the components of SRP, we have the title, the abstract, the body, and the references, following the standards of all publication, specifically the Scopus and other publications such as the Google information or the WordPress, etc. And there's a lot more, which is acceptable with high impact publication. Okay. Title, commonly aware to answer the questions what, who, and where, which is very concise, understandable, informative, and very specific. How to prepare the title? Make a list of the most important keywords. This is also one way to be able to delineate your original work or your work with other researchers to make it clear that you are doing the right thing. It means that you are doing the original research. Number 2, formulate a title that will contain the identified keywords. So to make your research concise and congest, and meaning very specific, you will never be messed around with the information. It should state most probably the conclusions of the research paper. It is because your title should always be considered your conclusion. Take note of that. You would notice after you have conducted your research that exactly what you really want to attain. So the abstract is a 1 or 2 paragraphs that entails the brief descriptions of the research. It is considered as the backbone or the gist of the research. It is because concisely Everything is there. All you have to do is to read the content within the specificity are there. But the abstract per se will tell you what type of research, what kind of research, what the research is all about, and what is the focus of your research. Once that you have identified the keywords, that exactly what the people, the readers, and the reviewers will expect from the paper. Commonly to a maximum of 250 words in the international publication. Some publication, complete research package publication, they are allowing to a maximum of 500 words. But to a standards and acceptable format, 250 is the maximum. So body, meaning the IMRAD form, the flesh or meat of the scientific research paper, following the international standards in its presentations, which include the introduction, methods, results, and even the discussion. So this is how the publication would look like. And as you can see, the introduction will give the eye view of everything. And the method has something to do with the Korea. And also, of course, the result has something to do with the vision. And the discussion will be the meat of your eyes. So therefore, IMRAD looks like an eyeball. So it means introduction, the methods, the results, and the discussion. Why is it that the discussion is a center of the research? Because that's the gist, that the most important thing, the flesh of everything, which includes the result derived from the result. Because result is just a presentation of the information and the data, if it is more on quantitative. But the discussion and description as a result and the gist must be on the discussion. So introduction formally presents the research study. It explicitly mentions what the research topic is all about, sets the tone, and gradually leads the reader to the research topic. That exactly the focus of attention, the introduction. Again, as what I've said, nowadays that introduction is the gist, but also, of course, which include the theory, the statement of the problem, and also, of course, the hypothesis, if there are hypotheses. But in most cases, hypotheses are eliminated already in the presentation of the introduction. So it commonly answers the following question: what am I studying? It is very useful. What am I studying? Will it help to solve a particular problem? Why is it considered an important question? It is because you want to solve some issue, to augment some innovations, to augment some operations, and also, of course, to create something new. Let's say, for example, business orientation or business. What is the key business today? What is the focus of the businesses of today? So with the aid in the use of the information technology and also, of course, artificial intelligence. So that is why nowadays a lot of people are into information technology, because we are being ruled by information technology. That we cannot live without the IT, or we cannot live without our gadgets. So therefore, there's a lot of companies of today's are investing into information technology. Some of them are into digital marketing, and also, of course, promotion through different social medias, etc. So what do I know about the topic before I engage in this research? So most probably, that is why one among the questions before the presentations of this discussion is that, am I equipped? Am I capable? Am I ready to conduct a research? So therefore, you must be equipped. This is the right time for you to be equipped, learning a lot of information, the guidelines, the procedures, and even all the knowledge necessary for the researchers to conduct researches. Also, of course, the formatting, the way you are supposed to write, which include the appropriate grammar, construction, etc., and the usages. What model will I be using? So referring to qualitative or the quantitative, it depends on the focus of your attention. Is it possible for you to make the quantitative research? Are you familiar with the statistical tools? Or most probably you can seek the attentions of the research statisticians or research advisors or expert in the field of research. Because if you are an expert in the field of research, even statistics could possibly be done. What approach do I need to take? So it depends on the model that you will be using. So what approach do I need? Will it be under qualitative? What particular qualitative? What approach or type of research? It could either be pedagogical study or grounded theory or narrative or documentary analysis or metaphysical analysis. It's up to you whether you will be sharing something new in the field of research or in the field of business or in the field of any profession, etc. So the steps in the presentations of original research enumerate the factors leading to the choice of the research topic. That exactly the evolutions of your research, where your research is at present. So therefore, at the back of your mind, why do I need to come up with this research? It is because you have encountered some issues and problem, or your organization is facing bankruptcy. What most probably the reason? Is it the human resource? Is it the money? Is it the method? Is it the technique? Is it the materials? Is it the minutes? Or even the market, the changing minds of the market, meaning the people who will patronize your products. Number two is stating the existing condition. Exactly. What is your present status? Are you encountering a problem or more serious problem? Or you can just simply solve it in just a split of a second. Or most probably, if the people is affecting already. Or if the profits haven't met or your goal haven't met, there is something wrong. Most probably the machine that you have used is malfunctioning. Number three, giving the macro perspective of the entire research study, meaning you are supposed to be in the general concept, going to more specific. That's exactly what we meant by macro perspective. It means that if you let your people do the functions and responsibilities without your direction, what will be the effect? So that's exactly what you want to measure. So in the absence of the leader, what will happen to the subordinates or followers? If there will be no direction, if there will be no policies, if there will be no procedures and guidelines, how these people perform? That is a very good question. So that is a macro perspective. It means in a bigger picture. Explaining the importance of the research study. So why do you need to conduct the research? That is also part of the introduction. Mentioning the rationale or the reason for choosing the research topic. At the back of your mind, there is a reason. Why do you need to conduct a research? Because you want to improve the system. You want to improve the lives of the people. You want to improve the profitability of the organization. Those are possible answers to your questions at the back of your mind. So what are the approaches, possible approaches? It could be all of them or one of these suggestion by Young F 2000. Begin with a provocative quotation or statement, the one that I have made. So that is why I derived from the concept of a quality always bears a signature. It means that we are talking here of the standard signature, meaning original. Once that you have let your signature put in it or write in it, you are supposed to approve that your work is original. So begin with a provocative quotation, statement, or statement. Emphasize a critical and urgent issue or concern. It is more on the problems that you or the people within the organizations have observed or encountered. And also, of course, enumerate a series of relevant questions. What does it mean by relevant question? What if? How if? Why if? Those are the possibilities that you are supposed to need to be answered. So those are questions in your introductions that need to be answered according to or based on the data you will be collecting. So the methods refers to the set of rules and procedures employed in systematically arriving at the solution of the research problem, which is precise, complete, and concise. So what does it mean by set of rules? From the very beginning, what will be using? What will you be using? What will be the method? What will be the technique? Commonly answers the questions how and how much. So how is a process? So you are going to establish any standard procedures or steps. And how much means how long will it take to arrive at a certain or reaching the last step. Let's say you have identified 8 steps. How long will it take the first step to perform, second step, and up to the last steps? So therefore, how and how much are the questions that need to be satisfied. So it includes only relevant information without unnecessary details, anecdotes, or excuses, which also include the explanations of the analytical techniques, let's say quantitative. How important is the use of person, product, moment correlation if you will be measuring differences? So there is no application at all. And there is no relevance when it comes to the use of person, product, moment correlation, of which you are relating two variables, let's say performance of the teachers and the performance of the students. So you are supposed to relate and you can identify if the performance of the teacher is needed to be improved or not, or sustain its energy. So if you will be using the t-test or the z-test or the chi-square to measure the differences, it has something to do with what? Comparing two sets of data. Let's say, for example, the performance of class A and the class B. So when it comes to mathematical performances or examination, what are the results of the class A, and what are the results of the class B? You are supposed to measure the differences. Excuse me? What would you like to say? Do you want to say something before I proceed? Do you want to ask a question?
I would like to request all the participants to cooperate with the speaker. If you have any question, you can write down in the message box. We will listen. Please do not hand up on the screen. It is really not ethical in nature. And if it is unconsciously done, that we hope that in future, please be careful regarding this. So that was wonderful. Please continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. Okay, the results are the core or heart of the paper that needs to be clearly and simply stated, since it constitutes the new knowledge that will contribute to the world. Take note of the results. These are the meat of the discussion, or of which the results must be presented properly and in response to or in accordance with the standards set by the publications. It summarizes and illustrates the findings in an orderly and logical sequencing without interpretation that guide the readers through the findings, stressing the major points. So therefore, everything must be presented in a well-prepared manner. And also, of course, the discussion after the presentations of the results. The hardest section to write. Its primary purpose is to show the relationships among the observed found facts with a short summary or conclusion regarding the significances of the work. As what I've said, if you really intend to measure the differences between two variables, let's say the class A and the class B, or you want to relate it using the person product moment correlations, or it has something to do with the multiple regression analysis of which 5 different factors against the 5 different factors. So as you can see, identified factor 1 against the 5 factors on the other side or other variables. So it has something to do with what we called the result of what test or statistical test that you have done, and based on the presentations of your data. It could either be the presentation merely description, and also of course using another parameters called statistics. It also states conclusions as clearly as possible that summarizes evidence for each conclusion. And those are the basis for you to draw your conclusion, that eventually your recommendation for as a support to your problem. So for the discussion, you have to answer the questions asked in the statement of the problem or based on the question as identified in your instrument. It is a way also to support the conclusions of which conclusion be derived from. And also, of course, the discussion depends conclusion of which supported by the review of related literatures or your readings or other theories that you have applied and used in your paper. And it gives the bigger picture and a take-home message, meaning whatever the result should be the basis for your recommendation. And the last one is referencing, and a standardized way of acknowledging the sources of information and the ideas that might have been used in the document, basically used to validate the information cited in the manuscript with depth. It has something to do with the information that you have used in the writing of your paper. Some of them are theories, some of them are concepts, some of them are ideas. Or also, of course, based on the abstract that you have read that could either be used to augment the results of your research. And that will be all. Thank you very much for listening and enjoy researching. Namaste, everyone. Thank you.